Welcome to Inhales with Keni Silva, and today I'm joined by Abbe Feder, founder of InCircle Fertility and a certified life coach. After experiencing her own fertility journey, she turned her story into purpose and created a platform supporting people navigating fertility journey and helping them to go through their emotions. Welcome, Abbe.
Thanks for having me. I'm so happy to be here, Keni. Thank you.
Well, I'm so happy to have you, and especially because fertility is such a big topic for women, and I feel like for a lot of women, and I have 2 kids, and for me, it's one of the biggest fulfillment, and I feel like women who struggle with them, it makes them feel less than others.
Yeah, which, you know, that's our fault as a society, right? We do that to women, and you are not only a woman if you have children, but many of us want to grow up and be mothers, and we should have that opportunity no matter what. I believe it should be a very basic human right to be able to have children. And we're very lucky in this day and age. We have so much science that can help and so many tools at our disposal. We just don't know about them. They're really freaking expensive, and the stakes become very high. So it's like, can take a toll on your relationship, on your friends' relationships, your romantic relationships, your familial relationships. So there's just like a lot to unpack when you start going through treatment.
And you have your own story that you went through.
Yes. I think nobody, unless you have some kind of diagnosis or something where you know you might need treatment, nobody thinks it's going to happen to them. We certainly didn't. And like, we got married, we were both really healthy, and our friends were starting to go through infertility and doing treatment. And we were like, oh, thank God, that will never be us. And then it was, and it wasn't working, and we had no diagnosis, and we were getting medical help, and there was nothing wrong, which in one hand is great because you're like, great,
but
nothing's wrong.
How many years did you go through trying before you actually said, okay, we need to do something else?
It was a while, too long. Like, I would not recommend going through it as long as we did. We started trying, and then I think we saw a doctor after 2 years.
Okay.
And we waited that long because we were in just like denial, disbelief. We were like, this next month it'll work. This is not going to be our story. Or we'd
you were open with your partner, with your husband.
We were very...
because I know some people, you know, it's like a blame.
Oh my gosh,
fault.
no. And thankfully, I think that gets really hard when there is a diagnosis. Like, if it's egg quality or low egg count or sperm morphology is off or sperm count is low, we had none of that. Thank God, because and I don't think we would have blamed each other, but it's very easy to blame. And I often, I mean, now I coach other people going through it. We'll get to that. But I always say, like, if it's the husband, let's say, the husband takes on so much guilt and shame. They feel so horrible. And I will say to them, imagine if it were her, you wouldn't want her to feel horrible. So you can't help it. You have some issue, any health issue. It's not your fault. Infertility is a disease. You sometimes get a diagnosis why you have infertility. Sometimes you don't, but it's not your fault. We had nothing to diagnose, which made it so frustrating, but also great. We have no health issues. But there was nothing we could do to fix it. And that is like really hard for some type A people who want to like fix everything, cross everything off the list. And there was just nothing we could do about it. It was infuriating.
Well, I guess not knowing what, like, when they say there's nothing wrong with you, then
it's
they're like,
so annoying.
Okay, I want to have the answer, then why it's not happening?
Why isn't it working?
It's even worse.
Exactly. It's worse.
I feel like, because at least if you have a problem, you can fix it. But when you have no problem, then
there's
it's
nothing
like,
to do.
So what are we going to do now?
And you're like, how long is it going to take? Is it ever going to work? And I think the fear that it might never work is very intense to deal with, because it becomes an existential crisis of like, I thought my life was going to look one way and it might not. And what is that going to be like? And that's very hard to deal with. Kind of like any sort of terminal diagnosis that you get. You think your life's going to look a certain way, and when it doesn't, how do you handle that? And we kept going and going and pushing, but not everybody can or should or will. And, you know, we got really lucky. We ultimately had success, but I think
how many rounds of IVF did you go through?
Oh my God. So we did 4 rounds of IUI. That's like the early phases. 4 egg retrievals and 8 transfers. So 4 times where they took the eggs out and 8 different times where they put them back in. We had 4 failed rounds, 1 miscarriage, 1 ectopic pregnancy, and then the 8th round, ultimately I got my twins, which is, I mean, my doctor was like, you want to do an 8th round? Like, are you out of your mind? And I was like, yeah, I think I am, but let's do it.
And that's how long that was, the whole journey.
With science and with help, overall, it was like 3 years. So we did 2 years, no doctor, a year, we met a doctor, and then I was like, I'm not ready.
So your whole life became about ovulating, putting it out. Because I did IVF with my son. So I know exactly what it is.
And you know how long it takes just for the one.
We did it because we wanted gender selection. I didn't have any problem, but still I know what it feels like. Everything is basically by the calendar.
That's right.
And you start living on that calendar. Okay, in and out.
You live and die by that calendar.
Yes.
You're like, we can't go on this trip because I'll be ovulating, or we can't plan this because, right, whatever it is. And that was another reason it took us a little while to get started. We'd be like, oh, we want to go to that wedding in Italy, so we can't be, tracking that month, so we can't try that month, and you get crazy about it. And everything is to a T, and you know your cycle like the back of your hand. And sometimes you realize your cycle's completely off, but you didn't know until you started really tracking it, So that you live and die by that calendar.
And then I feel like for me, the hormones they give you.
Yeah.
Really,
they're bonkers. Yeah. They're
so
bonkers.
you're becoming you're becoming like a crazy person.
You do. I mean, I took a lot of breaks between these hormones because I had to.
Yes.
And I also found there were periods of time where I was like, no gluten, no dairy, no sugar, no alcohol, as clean as I could be. That really helped me with the hormones in terms of balance and not feeling those crazy side effects. But then I was so depressed from everything not working. I was like, I'm going to eat pizza and drink wine. Who cares about no gluten, no dairy, no sugar, right?
Yeah.
So I had to decide, do I want the comfort food or do I want to feel more balanced? And I would just make that choice based on what I was feeling in the moment, So every round was different.
Well, I'm very happy that you really had a success story.
Thank
you ended up having twins.
I know.
So after that, you decided you're going to start your InCircle Fertility, helping others to go through a journey.
Yeah, I felt I was very lucky, right? I had a supportive husband. I had a supportive family. I had an amazing doctor who gave me her cell phone number. I could text her anytime. I had therapy. I didn't have insurance. I wish I had. But I had pretty much everything you could want.
Does insurance cover the fertility?
Now there's a lot more coverage. At the time there wasn't. At this point, I don't know if I would or wouldn't. But I basically had everything you could want except for insurance coverage, right? And I still felt like I wanted this person that was just this is going to be okay. I'm going to hold your hand through this. I've been there. This is what this is going to feel like. This is what that's going to feel like. And I didn't have that. And so that is really what I wanted to create for other people going through it. So that's what InCircle Fertility is.
Was there a moment with your journey when you wanted to give up?
Oh, 1,000 times. 1,000 times. I mean, until my babies came out of my body, I did not believe it was really ever going to happen. I'm still sometimes, my twins are 7 now, and sometimes I'm still like, how did they get here? It's very hard to believe sometimes.
I mean, did you think having more children after that? Or no?
I ended up having a crazy birth, which we can spare the story, but I ended up having to have an emergency hysterectomy postpartum. And so that decision was made for me, which was fine. The fact that I had 2,
yes, miracle.
I had a boy and a girl. My uterus was like, I'm done. I gave you what you wanted. We're out. And I was like, bye. Yeah, leave me alone. So it wasn't really even an option. But no, I don't think I even would have been. I don't know how people have twins and then another. That's seriously.
I know a lot of stories when people couldn't have kids, and after the first baby, they just naturally become so fertile.
I just left a friend who this happened to, and I'm like, it really happens. Your body eventually is like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do.
Yes, yes, it's like,
crazy.
Hey,
yeah, nope, that was not me. No opportunity for that, which was fine. But there were plenty of times where I was like, my mental health cannot handle this. I can't keep going. But then a little time would pass and I would be like, let's do it again. I just wasn't ready to stop. I just knew my story didn't end there. And I knew I was meant to be a parent. I wasn't sure how. We had started looking at surrogacy. I was open to potentially adoption down the road, but I wasn't there yet. I was open a little bit to maybe an egg donor. And like, there's all these opportunities now.
Yes.
And I ended up not needing to go down any of those roads, but they exist. And that's really amazing, I think.
Yeah. The women that come to you for guidance, right? It's basically, I mean, it's a long journey for some of them.
For all of them.
And
I would just say, like, every part of infertility takes longer than you want it to. Every part. Everyone thinks it's like, once you start IVF, boom, it happens. It's not like that. It takes a really long time.
Yeah, especially if you have some
problems. I mean, sometimes you didn't know you had endometriosis, and it turns out that you do, and it turns out that you need surgery, and you can't get into the doctor for 4 more months. So you thought you were going to be trying next month, but you can't try until you have that surgery 6 months down the road. You know, it's very unexpected, slaps in the face come along the way. And so the timeline often gets taken away from you, and that's really hard to process. Surgery 6 months down the road, it's very unexpected, slaps in the face come along the way. And so the timeline often gets taken away from you, and that's really hard to process.
So it's usually the woman, or it's a couples that come to you, or both?
It's both. It's almost always the woman. Sometimes the woman people work with me for 3 or 6 months at a time.
Okay.
Usually it's about a year that they work with me, but they buy packages in 3 or 6 months. Because nobody is ever wham bam in under 3 months. Like, they need at least 3 months to figure out what's going on. And so the woman usually books with me, and sometimes she'll bring her husband into our meetings. But for the most part, it's the woman that's looking for the hand holding. And I find the majority of my clients are extremely type A. They want to know they're doing everything they possibly can. They don't want to waste any time. They are not okay not feeling in control of this process. And so working with me helps them feel like they're doing everything they possibly can while they're waiting for success to happen. And it's a generalization, but like, the husbands are often, or the partners are often like, whoa, I don't need to feel like I'm doing every single thing. So if this is going to help you, like, do it. And it's like takes the burden off the doctor for feeling like they have to provide emotional support that they're not prepared to provide. And it takes the pressure off the partner who
That's
wants
what I
to
would
do.
think, because a lot of times if you don't have a person like you, the only person you want to confide is your partner.
And your partner wants to do everything right, but doesn't always.
Yeah. And a lot of times I feel like men don't even know what to say.
And they think they're saying the
inappropriate thing.
And they think they're saying the right thing.
Yes.
And it's like, you get so mad at them because they're saying the completely wrong thing. But they're like, why are you mad? I think I'm saying the right thing. Like, they're doing their best.
Do you give them a handout?
Sometimes I do. I'm not even kidding. Yeah. Sometimes I'll be like, don't say that to her again. Here's what you can say instead, Or, I'll do a very generic, 5 things not to say when your wife experiences a loss, for example. Or when I went through my first miscarriage, my husband wanted to go out of town, and it made no sense to him to stay because he was like, well, you're just going to lose the baby anyway. So what do you need me for? And I was like, you're going to just leave me to go wherever he was going, Chicago, I think, to do this by myself. And to him, he was like, yeah, you're going to be fine. And I was like, I can't be in the depths of and it was probably the biggest fight we ever had in our marriage. We got through it, and we learned a lot about each other. I learned that to him, picking up and going away when things get rough is sometimes how he copes with it. Yeah. I wouldn't have known that if we weren't going through this. And he learned from me that when I'm ill, I need somebody to sit in the shits of it with me, basically, We wouldn't have known that had we not gone through this. So when you're not expecting to go through that with somebody, you just don't know how you're going to react. And we made it through. Sometimes people don't make it through. It really could go either way. The stakes are very high.
And I also feel like for men, because they're not putting their body through that.
That's true.
They don't really understand what it is actually to constantly be, your whole life it becomes okay, I need to get pregnant.
Right.
For them, it's just
obsession.
An outsider. Right. It's like having a migraine and constantly going to the doctor to fix it.
Right.
They look at it differently.
So different. And it's that's not their fault, right? Yeah. But that's why it's important. And we are doing this more now. We are bringing them better into the conversation, I feel like. And they are taking more responsibility for being the father of the child and being a part of the story and a part of the emotional process. I think I will say, even from when my business started about 5 years ago, I see that the men are better support systems now than they were even then. Truly.
I think because now the society more openly talks about feelings, and having feelings is okay. And even for men, expressing their feelings is okay. Because before, like, especially I grew up in Russia, in Moscow, you know, it's like, this is where, even as a woman, like, hey, my mom would say, like, why are you crying?
Right.
There's no
like,
crying.
toughen up.
Toughen up. And especially for boys, you know,
toughen up.
Toughen up. And now with the whole world is about, you know, like learning and expressing
and talking about your feelings,
which is not always a good idea, but that's where I think they're more open of expressing themselves and being more vulnerable, that it does affect them.
And like, they're mourning in some way too, right? When you're going through infertility and something very sad happens, we forget that they're sad too, because they don't ever say it all the time, or they don't know how to say it. And so they're trying to both be the support person to you and handle their own emotions and sadness, which is also why you need somebody that's objective, like a coach, because they're trying to be strong for you, but like they need to be sad too. So like, get an objective person that can handle that for you, you know?
What's the biggest woman's fear when they come to you besides not having a child? Like, what outside fears they have in the process?
I mean, certainly that it's never going to happen for them. Definitely that it's going to ruin their marriage or their relationship. That something is wrong that they don't know about, that they're going to discover they have endometrial cancer, or that the drugs are going to give them some kind of cancer, which, by the way, has been proven not to happen. Or that, you know, once they're pregnant, obviously the biggest fear is that the pregnancy won't last. Especially like once you've had one pregnancy loss, the anxiety of becoming pregnant again is tremendous. It's very anxiety provoking. Again, until 9 months of my pregnancy, I really wasn't able to enjoy any of it because I kept thinking something bad was going to happen. Although it was weird because with twins, I kept thinking, well, if 2 are in there, I have a really good shot at 1. You know, like I always kept thinking, but I never really thought both would come out. And thankfully they did. But your mind plays crazy tricks on you to protect your heart. You know, it's really
it's
crazy.
Amazing listening to you. I start realizing what such a natural thing to so many. And you take it for granted how easy it can, because, you know, like I know so many people with no problems, and you know, like sometimes you look at families with like 5, 6, 7 kids. It's like natural thing. And then you're like, wow, and we just take it for granted.
Right. I mean, in pregnancy people, specifically. You're like, oh, another one, amazing.
And then for others, it's like, wow, I wish I had that.
I know. Isn't it crazy? You know, I think about, like, I see so many pregnancy announcements on social media. I still hate pregnancy announcements. I hate them. 7 years into motherhood, I freaking hate pregnancy announcements. Like, I see one and I'm like, were they trying? Did they have a hard time? Did they have any loss before this? Why do they have to tell everybody? Are they announcing? Like, I can't just see one and be happy for the person. That's how deep the trauma is for me. Of course, I'm happy for them. Like, don't get me wrong.
Of
but
course.
I can't just see one and be neutral about it. It's crazy. You know, 7 years into motherhood. Can't just, and like for them, I'm like, well, they're announcing it now. I sure hope it lasts. You know, like I can't not go there.
Wow.
I know. It's deep.
How many couples that came to you actually, did it ever happen that they broke up during or got divorced during the whole experience?
I think 2, actually. 1, they should have never been together to begin with. So like, it was kind of good that they broke up. The other, very sad story, they had 1 child, no problem. They went to have another, and the woman became obsessed with having a second child. And the husband felt that she was no longer herself anymore because all she cared about was having the second child. And she was like, well, if you don't want to have a second child with me, then I'm going to find somebody who does. And they broke up.
Wow.
And that was really sad. And you know what? She did find somebody else. And I don't think they've had a second child yet, but she did remarry. And so I'm like, maybe that was meant to be too. I don't know.
Why do you think a woman is so obsessed with having a child?
Yeah, I think...
Isn't it personal fulfillment what they, you know, like, because I have a career and I have kids, and I always say, like, my life would not be so full without them.
Right.
So I always knew I wanted to have children. But I feel like for some women who especially have a lot of kids, it's their life.
It's a really good question.
Themselves, you know,
they don't feel full.
Doing anything else.
Yeah.
They feel of themselves like that my purpose on this earth was just to be a mom.
You know, this particular woman, I'm thinking, and I know she's okay with me talking about it, otherwise I wouldn't. she had a career. She has a career, but she always pictured herself a mother of two, and she just couldn't let it go. She just could not let it go. She always said, I just have more love to give. I just have more love to give. And she doesn't love her career. She has a job, I should say. She doesn't really have a career. She has a job, and she didn't love her job, and she did the job so she could have a family. So when the family didn't turn out how she wanted to pursue that more than she wanted to pursue a more meaningful career. And I think it's really hard for people who grow up thinking things are going to be a certain way to pivot and to imagine that it's not going to be that way. It's some people just cannot let that go. I get that. I get that it's really hard. Like, I used to always want 3 kids. After what I went through, like, I was like, if I just get 1, I'll be so happy, you know? And the fact that I got 2 was a huge miracle, but that was it. I wasn't going to keep pursuing it, you know? But I, for this particular person, she just, to the point where she was willing to let her marriage go over it. So she just got kind of obsessed with it.
I think it's important in life that to change.
Yeah.
Because we all have, like, listen, when I was in my 20s, I'm like, I had, you know, a wish list, right?
And you're like, I'm just going to check it all off.
Check it off.
Yeah.
But also then with, you know, experience and becoming more mature, you realize, like, half of these things you don't even need, you know, to begin with. And then you become a different person.
Yeah.
But you have to also change with it.
It's like growth, you know?
It's growth, exactly.
And in some ways, maybe this person wasn't growing or evolving and was like stuck in thinking about what that life was going to look like. Yeah, I don't know.
But change is scary a lot of times.
Yeah, you're right.
And accepting that, you know what, maybe what you wanted is not actually what fits you now.
Right, because different things fill you, right? You probably didn't imagine in your 20s you were going to be hosting a podcast full of storytelling with women, right?
Exactly.
And now it lights you up so much. You could have never predicted that, but it makes it so that some of the other things that might have been on your list don't matter anymore because this fills you, you know?
And because, you know, of the book I wrote, I see a lot of women, unfortunately, after divorce, they are so lost because they don't know who they are. They associate themselves as being a wife, a mother, you know, and moving, even if they have a job or a career, but there is something in their life missing and they don't know how to fill that spot with something new and change and start doing new things. And that's why I think it affects more women, you know, going through divorce or life-changing events. Yeah. Because they're so in their own lane, like, okay, this is how I created. Yeah. Well, and I think once something going off, they're like, oh my God, what am I doing now?
Well, and to that point, I think women are like, well, if X, Y, or Z doesn't work out, I can always become a mom. Well, if X, Y, or Z doesn't work out, I can always become a mom. So then when you can't become a mom, there's like shame. Well, what then am I going to do that's successful?
Well, it's also because I feel like as a woman, when you are born, they kind of tell you that.
Exactly.
You're going to get married and have kids.
Like that's your like life path, you know?
I don't know. Like I don't tell my son, you're going to grow up and get married and have kids. Like,
do you think your kids want kids?
I know my daughter does want to have kids for sure. Yeah. My son is too young to even talk about it. You know, he's 14, but my daughter, she says she wants to have kids.
Yeah. And she's 18, right?
She's going to be 18 in September.
And I'm like, tell her to freeze her eggs when she's like 25. Tell her to freeze those eggs.
I tell it to everyone. Even I wanted to freeze my eggs, not because I want to have kids. I just want to have that option. Yeah. You know, I love having options. Like, hey, I may never use it, but I just want to have that. Yeah. I hate when they say, you know, like, you only biological whatever age is still here.
Right. I mean, that was like when I had to have my emergency hysterectomy. It was like, well, that choice was taken away from me. I truly didn't care because I felt so grateful to have my kids. Yes. But it's much nicer to have the option than to have it taken from you. Yes.
It's like, okay, I still have this. You know? And I think a lot of times, for me at least, it's knowing I can do it. Yeah. It's like makes you feel happy.
You don't want to feel like someone, like some outside source is making the choice for you. You want to make the choice, you know? But like, I think my daughter's only 7 and I'm like, should I get her to freeze her eggs at like 18, 21, 25? Like I think about it all the time, you know?
But how early, you know, they can determine if a normal woman, you know, if she's not even planning, they can go now and see what their chances.
It, like, I mean, once she starts getting her period, they can tell what's going on.
I think my friend who's a fertility doctor, he said, I think at 17, they can already see if they have those follicles and, what you have.
Yeah.
But do you have a lot of women come by themselves who wants to get pregnant?
More and more, yes. And I'm just in awe of these women. I think it's so amazing and brave and hard. And it's hard to parent with two parents, let alone one. I grew up with a single mom. I mean, I had two parents, but I was in a single mother household. You know what that's like. And I'm just in awe of what they want to do and what they can do. And I have women who, it's called Single Mother by Choice, SMBC. And I just think they're incredible. And I do have more and more women doing that. And I love being able to support them because they clearly need more help than most.
And because they have to go through IVF to get pregnant.
Totally.
There's no other way.
They have to. And so I've seen so many beautiful stories. I've seen it where a woman has received an embryo donation. So instead of taking her own eggs and getting a sperm donor, she receives the full embryo and implants that and has become pregnant. And she did that because she knew someone else that had used the same embryos. And that way her kid and the other kid were biological siblings.
Wow, that's beautiful.
With different moms. I mean, it's so many different iterations of family now, And I've seen, somebody was just telling me that they have a group of girlfriends that all decided at 40 they wanted to become single mothers by choice. So they all did. And it's 4 of them. And they're each other's village. And they help take care of each other's families.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
But I feel because, it's so hard to meet a right partner.
Yeah.
That's, in some cases, it's better if you want to be a mother
and
you want to be in charge of your life, just do what you want. You don't have to wait for that person.
Totally.
Or just have a kid with somebody, you don't even think it's a great fit.
No. And in fact, think about how many people I feel either stay in a marriage because of the kids or get married because they want to have kids. And now you don't have to do that.
And I love this for women because it shows them that they can be in control of their life.
That's right.
And I'm all about it. I have girlfriends who went through 2 marriages, 2 divorces, having children, and then deciding, you know what? I want to have a kid by myself now and be completely in charge, that I don't have to split decisions and anything.
What a joy, to not have to fight with your partner about what decision you want to make for your kid, what school they go to. I don't know, but I'm going to decide,
Yes.
Could be nice, convenient.
And I think a lot of people don't realize when you start having children, there's so much bigger problems that you didn't expect that comes with it.
1,000%.
Exactly, about the education, about the religion, what school you want to go there, who do you want them to grow up, the schedule. I was one of those crazy moms with my first child. Everything had to be on the schedule.
Yeah.
And when my ex-husband wanted to go on to dinner, I'm no,
not on a schedule.
And it was and of course with the second one I eased up because I realized it's fine. It's gonna be okay. Right. But there's so much, things that you don't think about that comes in, the different opinions, the different, and men don't look at it as, a child they think it's so easy. The child is somehow is fat and is growing.
Just easy, just happens,
So you see, a lot of times I'm you know what? It might be so much easier to have it.
Totally. Then you don't have in-laws to deal with. P.S. I love my in-laws. That's not the point. But I'm just saying it's you don't have to worry. When you marry someone, you marry their family. And you don't
That's true.
Those people don't weigh in.
And then the holidays and then,
exactly.
Doing all those things. And that's why it's I was curious. I'm if you have couples, you probably now these days, so many women on their own decided to start their journey.
It's pretty amazing.
What about guys
too? So guys don't really come to me, and I think it's because they know they're going to need help. It's for people who come to me are very surprised that they need help, right? They're we never thought we were going to need infertility. Gay dudes know they're going to need help, right?
Yes.
So it's different. But
again, it's not their body that's going
not their body.
That.
They're used to knowing that it's going to be a very different experience than what we're used to. So they don't really come to me, but I have seen, again, these beautiful scenarios where people have embryos left over and will donate or carry for their gay best friend, or single dad by choice will go through this same process. And it's pretty amazing. Crazy ways to make families now. Not crazy bad, just crazy and different. And I love it.
I know these days, because I have so many different friends, and you're when you start listening to all those stories, which I have a couple and their friends, they're 2 guys and their girlfriend gave them the egg.
Yeah.
And I asked her, I said, how does it feel every time you see that child? Do you feel connected? Because as a mom to me, I don't think I would be able to do that. Not because of anything, because I have my own kids and I see how I'm raising them. Yeah. And for me, I don't know, what if that child doesn't get as much love as I can give them? You know, it's all those feelings. And I ask her, like, how does it make you feel? And because she doesn't have her own kids, she's like, you know, sometimes it's hard. It's
she
hard
doesn't have her own kids. That's interesting.
It's hard to walk away. You know, it's cute. Like I'm with a child and the child is only one, but then I get moments when I'm sad.
Interesting. Because, you know, when she gave the eggs, usually you have to go through a psychological evaluation to make sure that you're okay and get approved to do it. And I'm sure she got approved and I'm sure she was fine. But you can only...
I didn't know that you actually, even if it's your friend, you still have to go through
Even if it's your friend, right? Because like there's a lot of legality that happens. And so they have to make sure it's not a crazy person receiving the egg or a crazy person giving the egg. You have to, you know, sign away that you're not going to come back and take the, you know, there's all kinds of legalities about it. And at the time you're like, yeah, I'm going to be fine. But then when the actual baby's here, you don't know how you're going to feel, you know?
Yeah. And I just read that a mother and a child have a continue, especially when you carry them.
Yes.
They have that bond for life because they still have a parts of you.
Yes. So, which, by the way, so sometimes I have people who come to me who use an egg donor, but then they carry, and I explain to them, you will have your own bond with that baby, even though the egg might not have come from you, because there's epigenetics when your blood feeds into the body, and like it becomes a part of you too. So I find that part of it so beautiful, you know?
No, it's definitely beautiful. It's just, you know, there's so much emotions involved around it that I think people don't realize it's not just the IVF treatment.
Right. It's not just like go to the doctor, do the shots, call it a day. There's a lot more behind it for sure.
Because I was even thinking for women who, you know, used as a surrogate.
Yeah.
Once you carry that for 9 months, that child inside of you create that bond.
Yeah.
You know, you basically breathe the same air. You have a heartbeat, like you feel it.
It's crazy.
And then you deliver, and then you like, it disappears.
And I will say, I do work with a lot of people that work with surrogates. They often now they maintain a relationship with the surrogate. So it's called like Aunt Jessica or whatever it is, Aunt Sally, whatever it is. And they are in each other's family. Now, to be a surrogate, you have to have had kids already. So a lot of times they will consider the surrogate's children their cousins because the surrogate carried. And so I'm fine, again, like thinking about the future of the children who are coming from the surrogate or the future of the children who are coming from donor conception is a lot more prevalent now than it used to be, so that people are creating these relationships for the sake of the children's mental health, which I think is also extremely healthy and smart.
But I feel like in some way, though, it's very confusing. You know, when they're little, and it's like, wait, who's this? Like,
when they're little, for sure. But it's like you normalize it when they're little and you just talk about it for them to know what it means. And then you explain it as they continue to grow older. There's lots of books about it now. You know?
I feel like in some way the life became easier, but in some way it's more complicated.
Yeah. And it's, look, like we're not used to it, like you and I, right? But this generation of people, of kids, like they will be used to hearing those stories. It'll just feel normal to them.
Of course. And especially like I see it even with my kids because they have kids with different parents.
Yeah.
They look at it completely different. It's a part of the norm.
Just a part of the norm.
And they don't think of anything, not because, you know, we talk about it. It's just because I grew up in a completely different generation and they're growing up with knowing that exists.
Right.
And they exposed to all these things. It's just so fascinating how from traditional family, mom and dad, now we have so many beautiful branches.
That's right.
And everybody can have a child, which I think is beautiful.
Agree.
Now I want to talk about something else.
Okay.
You telling me that you grew up in a divorced household.
I did.
And I always wanted to ask, from a perspective of a child, coming from a divorced family, do you think it was a good thing for your parents to get divorced or not?
Oh my God. I don't know how my parents were ever married. I don't know how, like they got married so young. My mother was 20. My dad was 24 or 23. They were together for 7 years. They were married for 7 years. They divorced. It was a huge scandal in my family. Everybody was like, oh my God, what about Abby? She's going to be a mess. I would have been such a mess if they would have stayed together. Like it was the best thing that they could have done for each other. And it was the best thing they could have done for me. I can't even tell you. People are like,
how old were you when
I was 3.
Oh, 3. And you already knew this is...
I mean, at 3, I didn't know.
Yes,
but like, it was just my normal. And everyone older in the family, like my grandparents, my aunts, they were terrified. They were so worried that I was going to be a mess. I would have been a mess if they'd stayed together. They weren't happy. They each ultimately went on to marry the right person. Much later, like they were divorced and single each for quite a while. But I never understood like, well, let's stay together for the sake of the children. Your children know when things aren't good. And they did me the best possible favor by not staying together. And I believe so strongly that that is the best choice when possible. I grew up in New York City, and I went to a school where there were actually a lot of really like successful single moms. So it wasn't that strange. I think like my immediate 3 best friends all came from divorced households. So that might have been why it felt so normal to me. Maybe if I were the only one, it would have felt a little bit more strange. And my dad, all 3 of my friends' parents who were divorced, they all lived locally. My dad never did. I would always go visit like on vacations, summer break. So that made it a little trickier, but I don't know why. Like it was the best thing that could have happened to me. I don't have, and now like I have in-laws is 2 parents, mother and stepdad is 2 parents, dad and stepmom. I have 6 parents. My kids have 6 grandparents. Like I feel so lucky. Yeah. And I think that it really helped me choose the right partner. I really did not want to end up divorced. I wanted to make sure that I chose the right person. And if that meant waiting, it meant waiting. Of course, it meant delaying pregnancy and then my whole fertility thing. But like, I think that my generation, like we saw the relationships crumble around us and we were like, we're not going to make those same mistakes. I think it really helped me choose my partner wisely, I think.
Well, for me, because my parents actually stayed married until I left the house. And I knew since the age of 12, I wanted them divorced.
Isn't that
And that's why I think at 17, I left the house. Because I'm like, listen, you're putting that burden on me that you are staying unhappy because I'm still there.
Did you have siblings?
No, I was just the only child. And then I even asked my dad, I'm like, Dad, like, why didn't you guys get divorced? And he's like, well, we did it for you. I'm like, for me, for what?
It's so weird,
it's like,
right?
You put too much pressure for me that you there, like me seeing you. It's like, I wanted to get divorced since I was 12, not because I had crazy arguments, just because I saw they were completely different people. Yeah. They were just like roommates, basically.
Right.
And that's why when it came to me, and I've been with my ex for 15 years, and it was hard for me just to make that decision. And I was like going back and forth now being as a mom. Yeah. It's like, oh my God, but what about my kids? And I'm like, you remember yourself? Like you wanted that. Not that I'm saying my kids wanted it, they didn't, but I'm like, I believe that a happy mother will create that happy environment for everybody. And it's not about, being together or apart. And I told my kids, I'm like, you still have a loving mom and a loving dad. You still have a beautiful family unit.
Exactly.
You're just not there. So a lot of times when I get hate, like you destroyed your family.
See, that's the thing. I'm like, where does that come from? Like you did the right thing for you and your family.
And my kids completely support me, especially my daughter, because it was a big moment for me. Like, I don't want them to hate me for making that decision. And I told my daughter, when you grow up, you're going to understand more things. Right now, you're just too young. But still, once in a while, like, it's like, well, you were so selfish and, like you destroy your kids. I'm like, my kids are the happiest kids in the world. They didn't lose a parent.
Right.
Because a lot of times, even when you're married, you don't have a parent. Right. Just because you live together doesn't mean anything.
No. And in fact, they probably, I don't know how things were in your home before you got divorced, but like maybe your ex had to step up a little more from the divorce.
And that's what happens a lot. When dads actually step up. Yeah. Because now they have to. Right. And the kids actually benefit more from having 2 involved parents. That's right. And not only that, I feel like that's, made my kids very self-sufficient. They grew up.
Yes.
And
I feel the same for me. I was way more independent than most of my friends, for sure. I also, this is from like years of therapy, but like I can compartmentalize things very well in my life. And my therapists were always like, that's because you had like your life with your mom and your life with your dad. And I don't think that's necessarily bad. Like I can deal with something that's like crisis and trauma and then like turn that off and deal with something else that's not. And I think sometimes that's a good skill to have. So maybe maybe your kids will have that too. And maybe it'll serve them well.
But I feel like we all have to compartmentalize different things. It doesn't have to be just with mom or with dad. It always like there is a division for this. There is because life consists of so many different things.
Yeah.
And it just, And
I think it makes it a little easier sometimes when you have different dynamics in your family than you have to bring into the rest of the world,
Exactly. Or there is times where like, okay, this is my, because obviously moms and dads' homes are always different.
Yes.
But at the same time, I feel like for me, for example, like changing, the dynamics and space is actually helping, because then because it's the same routine always is not always.
Right. It gives like some variety.
Variety.
Yes.
And it's like, maybe it's a little bit harder there or a little bit because, we ask for different things. Of course, at my house, it's more, I cater more to my children. With dad, it's a different dynamic and they have to step up themselves more. But I actually love it because this is where, especially at their age, when I feel they're very capable of doing it.
Yeah. And so you like it. It's like
I baby them.
Yeah. You're like, if they want me to baby them, I'm going to baby them because they're teenagers, right?
Yes.
Right. Mine are so young. I'm like, oh, how long do I have to baby them? But like, eventually I'm going to be like, can I please baby you?
Yeah. So I'm at the stage where my son is like, Mom, like, don't call me baby.
Yeah.
Like, you're always going to be my baby, even when you're going to have your own babies.
Yes. I'm scared thinking of the time that my kids are like, don't call me baby. It's going to come fast. I know.
So also you have an amazing podcast.
Thank you. Yes. It's called Women's Wellness with Abbe Feder. All came out of my fertility stuff. I just wanted to tell fertility stories. And then it turned into, there's more than just fertility stories out there. So it's really a lot of women's wellness stories. I think I'm sure that we get gaslit in so many ways as women in this crazy medical field. And so I just love telling, there's so many incredible women doing incredible, like your book, how it's been able to help so many women. We go through something that we feel like is traumatic and we're like, we have a way to make it easier for other women to go through. So for me, that was my infertility, but it's also, I have like a prenatal vitamin company that will come on and tell me why they didn't know one particular ingredient was missing from their prenatal and that changed their whole journey, right? For example,
amazing.
Or like we're starting to finally talk about perimenopause, which we never talked about for so long. So I'll have a perimenopause expert come on and talk about that. It's really all different women's wellness topics that I think deserve to see the light of day that don't get talked about enough.
I totally agree because I feel like that we do get shamed for so many things.
So many things. By the way, I was going to say this about divorce. It's like people think divorce is the bad decision.
Yes.
Right? Because they're like, how could you do that? But like, what if divorce were looked at as the good decision?
Exactly. Well, I always say, listen, like, marriage is the same relationship, just with more paperwork. Somehow when you're in a relationship, you don't overthink if you want to break up with somebody.
Right.
But just because you signed that piece of paper,
right?
You're like, okay, well, I should. And to me, because life is so short, and listen, it just happens. People grew apart.
That's right.
People fall out of love. Things happen.
Like we were saying, you grow, and if you don't grow together.
Exactly. Yeah. And to me, it's much worse to stay somewhere you're not happy.
Totally agree.
Versus just making that difference because you know what? Like you're not sacrificing your life for something big. You're just doing it because you're honestly afraid of change.
That's right.
And I feel like I always say it's not the end, it's a new beginning. And how you look at it, you can create something completely beautiful. You can even stay in a beautiful, like me and my ex, we're great friends.
Yeah.
We parents, and it doesn't have to go bad.
Right.
Because that's why I feel a lot of times people look at a divorce because it's just the end. It's not. We continue in our relationship just in a different way.
Right. I love that. I mean, and especially once you have kids, you're going to be connected forever. You just are.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's like you get to choose how to
choose how to do
it.
You can
so smart.
be, completely strangers.
Yeah.
Or you can continue the same dynamics just in a different shape and form.
Yeah. I love that. You're smart. You're really smart to put it out that way too.
Thank you. Well, I feel like because it's something it happens a lot.
Yeah.
And it's something that you can just, like close your eyes and say it doesn't happen.
Right.
That's a part of life that 70% of people actually going through.
Yeah.
So instead of just saying, you know what, it's a bad thing, you're just like, no, it's not. It's how you handle it.
Right. It's just a change. Like
it's just a change.
I love that.
So for our last question, I want to ask you, for a woman that's going through her fertility journey right now, what would you advise her?
Everything takes longer than you want it to. So even though you might think, I'm not ready, I don't want to see a doctor, I don't want to get the tests done, do it anyway. It doesn't mean you're acknowledging that you have infertility or that you have a problem. It means that you're taking control over it. Get as much help as you possibly can. Get a coach if you can get a coach, get a therapist if you can get a therapist. Talk about it, ask the questions. Don't go down Google rabbit holes. Don't go down Reddit rabbit holes. Get questions answered from people who've been there, from people who understand what the process is like, so that when the time comes where you want to start, like, you're making the decision. The decision isn't being made for you by the universe, by time, by medical treatments. Like, really take control of it for yourself.
I absolutely love it, because I always say that knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power.
And it doesn't matter if, like for me, I always say in my book, like, you don't have to go through divorce to go to a family attorney to know your rights or what's going to happen.
Yes.
It's just a basic knowledge. Like, we
be
go
educated.
Be educated.
Yeah.
Like, we go every year to a doctor, not to, because we're searching for cancer.
Right.
Just because
we're checking
a
up.
routine.
Yep.
But it's the same thing with the fertility.
Yep.
If you want, I always recommend, like, hey, you might as well check it out.
That's right. Just know where you're starting from.
Exactly.
Yes.
Well, Abbe, thank you so much
Thank you.
for coming and sharing your beautiful story and giving hope to so many. And especially, I love that woman who doesn't have a partner, you can still have a beautiful family.
That's right.
Thank you, Abbe.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.